Hi everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome to another day of breakfast and a book, and I'm going to show you my mug of the day. And this is a mug I received from a student. It says, best teacher ever. I just wanted to take a second and thank everybody for all of the kind words and actions for Teacher Appreciation Week. I am blessed to be your teacher, and I just wanted to thank you so much. So thank you everybody. Today, I got a really great story to share with you today. I'm really excited about this one. This is a newer book that Mrs. Garcia let me borrow so I could share with you guys while we were at home. And its title is Perfectly Norman. And it is written and illustrated by Tom Percival. One of the things I noticed right away about this was the bright cover. It kind of drew my attention, and I already am loving the illustrations that are inside. What do you notice about Norman? He has wings. Let's read to find out about Norman. What do you notice about the illustrations that you see so far? Everything is in black and white except for who? That's Norman there on the front. He's in color. I wonder why everybody else is in black and white, but he's in color. Let's see if we can find out the answer to that question as we read. Norman had always been normal, perfectly normal. So there he is with his friends doing very normal kid things, eating ice cream, playing with the kite, being outside, until one day he grew a pair of wings. Now, Norman had imagined growing taller or growing a beard like his dad, but he had never imagined growing a pair of wings. Still, they were here now, so he decided to test them out right away. I know if I grew a pair of wings, I would want to test them out right away too. Soon, Norman was swooping around and generally having the most fun ever. But then, what do you think is going to happen next? But then makes it sound like something not so fun is going to happen. Let's see. He had to go in for dinner. You see, Norman had always been so normal, he didn't know how his parents would feel about his extraordinary wings. So as he went in, Norman covered himself up in a great big coat. His parents didn't notice the wings, but they did think that it was odd to be wearing such a big coat indoors. Bath time was problematic. Look, he's got that giant coat on in the bathtub. You're not supposed to have coats on in the bathtub. And the coat was hot and uncomfortable, but Norman decided that no one could see his wings ever. Why do you think he wants to hide those really awesome wings? Would you want to hide them if you got wings all of a sudden? What do you think Norman should do? The next day, Norman went to the park, but he was far too hot to play any of his favorite games. If you look at the illustration here, what kind of clothes do you notice the other children wearing? Yeah, it looks like summertime. Remember they were eating ice cream earlier in the book? And Norman's got on this big, heavy winter coat. And so it went on. So he's still hiding who he really is now with these new wings. He hasn't told anybody about his new, unique wings. Long car journeys were unbearable, and the swimming pool was dreadful, and that was nothing compared to his friend's birthday party. What do you think Norman should do? He's so sad that he's missing out on everything, and I noticed the look on his parents' face. They look kind of worried. I know I would be worried if my kids were wearing a winter coat all summer long when going to places like the pool or a party. I would be a little concerned too. Even the dog looks concerned. The only time that Norman could feel normal now was when it rained. So that way everybody else had coats on like him. One day, a boy tried to pull off his coat, and Norman had to run away, hot-faced, angry, and sad. He wished he'd never grown those wings. But then he saw some birds high up in the sky and remembered the joy of his first flight. It occurred to Norman that it was the coat that was making him miserable, not the wings. So what do you think he's going to do? Do you think he's going to continue to wear the coat? Or do you think he's going to take it off and let people see that he has wings? What do you think? Let's see. Why don't you take off that scruffy old thing, suggested Mom and Dad. Norman looked up hesitantly. If you are hesitant about something, it means you're not really sure that you want to do it or not. His parents smiled and nodded, and Norman smiled back. Then he threw the coat off and let his wonderful wings fan out. Did you notice something that just happened? I noticed something besides the fact that Norman took off his coat. What do you notice changed? Yeah, the illustrations are in color now. There's more color in there. Norman leapt into the air. Finally, he was free of that coat. He noticed a few other children wearing thick, heavy coats of their own. They looked up at Norman and around and at one another nervously. There was a moment's pause, and then, what do you think is going to happen? Norman noticed that these children were all wearing those big, heavy coats just like he was. Why do you think that these kids are also wearing big, heavy coats? Let's see. Whoosh! The sky was filled with flying people. Norman had never felt so happy. Look at all of the colors. Now, he finally realized that there is no such thing as perfectly normal. But he was perfectly Norman, which is the way that it should be. And he's so right, because you know what? Each of you are amazing just the way you are. Kind of like our story yesterday with Molly Lou Lemon. He was afraid that by having wings and being a little bit different, it was going to make him just not the same as everybody else. Can you imagine how boring the world would be if everything was the same? I am so glad that each of you are unique and you are the way you are. And I'm so glad I'm the way that I am, because if I was the same as all my friends, it would be such a boring place. So I am just so excited that I got to share this really awesome book with you that Mrs. Garcia was kind enough to let me borrow, because I think that all of you are perfect just the way you are. Have a great day, everybody.